veterans of the Army and Navy of the United States, on this day, which commemorates the end of fighting between human beings in a world war, it is, I think, permissible for me to search far back in the history of civilization in order to visualize important trends. On the Great Seal of the United States, which for a century and a half has reposed in the loving care of a long line of Secretaries of State of the United States, there appear these words: Novus Ordo Seclorum, which means a new order of the ages. In almost every century since the day that recorded history began, people have thought, quite naturally, that they were creating or establishing some kind of a new order of the ages. But in the scheme of civilization from which ours descends, I suppose that we can recognize that in approximately 2,500 years, there have been only a very few new orders in the development of human living under a thing called government. Without question, the philosophy of orderly government, in which the governed had some form of voice in a civilized society, goes back to the days of ancient Greece. We must remember, however, that while the philosophy of democracy was there first expressed in words and on paper, the practice of it was by no means consistent, and was confined to a relatively small number of human beings and to a relatively small geographical area. Then we came to the age of Rome, an age of a strange admixture of elections and laws and military conquest and personal dictatorship. It was an age which extended the civilization of the period to the greater part of the then known world. It was an age which forced its own conception of laws and ways of life on millions, literally millions, of less civilized people who had previously lived under tribal custom or centralized direction. Yet, definitely, Rome was an age. With the collapse that followed, with the overrunning of Europe by vast population movements from further east, orderly progress deteriorated for a number of centuries, and the sword drove learning into hiding. That dark period could hardly be called an age, because it was essentially an interim between ages. And then, with the reawakening of 1,000 years ago, with the Crusades, the feudal system, the guilds, the kings, and the Renaissance, that age which immediately preceded our own was born and grew and flourished. It was an era of enormous distinction, arts and literature, and education and exploration, moderation, marching armies, barons, and empires. But human security was still non-existent. Democracy was not permitted. But toward the close of that great age, the appearance of tiny movements in tiny places as the era of 1776, the age in which, thank God, we still live. It is true that those small beginnings originated in the old world, among the philosophers, among the seekers of many kinds of freedom that were forbidden then by those who governed. Those beginnings found their freest development in the colonies that were organized along the seaboard of North America. There, by the processes of trial and error, democracy, as it has since been accepted in so many lands, had its birth and its training. There came into being the first far-flung government in all the world whose cardinal principle was democracy, the United States of America.